And we're here for the 9th match of the GNK tournament. This is Twitch Shoutcasting with Al on for our stats and deeper analysis. Al, we've got a match between Keegan and Jeff. What do you see happening in this match today?
Okay, so, Keegan has been uptrending in his playstyle. He's been really figuring his stuff out. He's already had the building mastery down, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he has build order and whether or not he keeps his citizens moving. I do expect Jeff to just fucking use a lot of his aggression from his previous loss and just take it out on Keegan as the motion back.
Yeah. It appears that we might have had a flub on the map available, as it looks like each player has started with a castle. We might have a bit of a scoop and see. Yep, it looks like they have scooped the match to restart with that error.
Alright, looks like Jeff lost the match.
Yep, and
he can get these guys off the field.
Chalk it up as a loss, he's out of there. I do believe that setting up with the wrong...
To be honest with you, I didn't see that coming. See that match coming like that.
That just
the whole thing
just went real quick, Went sideways for Jeff as soon as the settings were off. I actually believe that is an instantaneous loss. Let's see. Okay, cool. It looks like the players are restarting the game. So yeah. So looking at the tournament stats, we've got a 2-1 for Jeff and a 0-1 for Keegan. Not a lot of activity just yet, but as you were saying, Keegan, maybe an upward trend building here?
I think so. I'm not saying this is going to be a victory, but I do think that this is going to be a pretty well-contended match. I don't know what strategy Jeff is going to use. Have fun picking. I don't know what strategy Jeff is going to use, but I guarantee he's going to use one.
Yep, we've seen him in the past be a big favorite for the Japanese. Really a big fan of the samurai as he goes through, and especially aggressive player as well, liking to castle out his opponent early. And we see Huns for Keegan. What do you think's behind that?
I think he just doesn't want to build houses. Nobody likes being housed, I just think that's a big core strategy to keep your economy going constantly. Assuming that's how you decide to play.
Yeah, if you don't have houses, you don't have problems. That's what I always like to say.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting here. I mean, you've got already, the resource gap in the beginning.
Yeah. Keegan here opting for some early lumber. He just really wants to get those out of the way quick.
You just got to get some hardwood going.
Yeah. And, really having kind of like a wood chopping contest. I think that's really to motivate the lumberjacks here to go quicker. Saying, hey, each of you, whichever one can chop down the tree quicker, probably going to get some sort of reward. Maybe a farm.
I think so. I think they'll be rewarded with farm. They're doing a civilization, a nice thing by getting those trees knocked down early so they can put farms around it, right?
Yeah. And that'll really set him up to have just a nice, pretty base later. He does not have to build those houses, so he's pulling slightly ahead in economy. If we look at the stats, we're kind of neck and neck with villagers, though Jeff does have a slight edge.
Is he building barracks?
Keegan is going for a barracks. Do you think on this we might see some early aggression?
I don't know. Oh my god!
I'm
so surprised.
I've heard. Usually for a Dark Age rush, you're looking to be at 14 villagers, but we've got Keegan attempting it potentially at 8. Let's take a look at his vision and see. He still does not have a good beat on where Jeff is, but you've got to admire the aggression here.
It is a pretty wild amount of aggression. I mean, he doesn't have to build houses, right? So maybe he's gonna go for early archers.
That would still require him to be in the next stage. We'll see how his economy, if his economy is able to support that. He's going in on wood and just kind of gently building into the food production here. If we look over to Jeff's base, we actually don't have a lumber camp yet. That is kind of an interesting choice. Let's see if he might be having some trouble seeing his wood. He does know where the wood's at, but just opting to not build one. Says, I don't need it yet.
Do you think he's doing that because of how close the wood is to his town center? Do you think he's saying that it's a better use of resources to knock out this wood that's right here than go build a lumber camp and have these guys walking all the way over there?
That is more likely. And we have an early lure on the elephant as Jeff's economy is humming along pretty well. His scout, however, nowhere near Keegan, just kind of making a beeline.
Get housed here.
Ooh, will he get housed? Is he going to remember we've got only 80% left? He's building the houses. Could it be? No! It's only brief, but we do see a house.
Man.
That is a big burden on one's psyche. That's, you know, that's going to hurt his self-esteem. Let's see how Keegan's doing. Again, not having that problem. Avoiding the psychological win. Do you think that's a big advantage to going with the Huns? Just avoid.
I don't have any idea what he's doing. Very confused. I mean, that's a pretty far lumber mill. Or that's a regular mill, I'm sorry. So maybe he's trying to get into feudal by having 2 feudal buildings?
Yeah.
I mean,
looking at his food, we're still at only about 150 food, but he's keeping the villager production up. If we're looking at the villager numbers, well, I say that, but he's actually 5 behind Jeff at this point.
yeah.
He's got the food to catch up, though. We'll see kind of how it plays out. He's got a very diverse economy. No things all built in one, and going for an early stone. First he's looking to be aggressive with that quick barracks, then he's looking to be potentially defensive with the stone, maybe a tower rush, but still the site isn't quite there yet to support it. His scouts got a lot on the map uncovered, but crucially not yet Jeff's base. And checking back in on Jeff, it looks like his scout has found a fruit bush, and is he building a cross-country mill? Could this be some early aggression, early map expansion from Jeff? Let's check the fog of war on this one.
Oh my god!
Just to see. Oh my!
Look how close he
is. Whether he realizes it or not, he is right outside of Keegan's base. Now, the standard map size for these matches is 3 persons, so there's a chance that he's building this in his own mind in an empty base, but he is just going for it.
Moving.
He's got 5 villagers out there. This is this is slowing down his economy compared to your average fast castle strategy. However, he's still able to hum along. He's still able to keep villager production up, and as we can see, he is now a full 8 villagers ahead of Keegan. So, he's putting himself out there, but he's got room to wiggle.
What a crazy thing to do.
What do you think?
Why?
What do you think is going through his mind here?
I know that Sun Tzu once said that if you're going to use resources, you should use the resources of your enemy.
That is brilliant. And
he could have taken that to heart.
Oh, will Keegan have a nasty surprise as we've got the 2 worlds meet? The villagers are harvesting the berries. If we have
bringing back his.
No. And that scout is attacking. Do we have loom out? Oh, but here's where this might pay off from Keegan. He's already got 2 militia out. He can chase off Jeff's aggressive mill. And they are just surrounding him. This is huge.
Wow, what a defense play.
Oh, and he's going to be able to clean up the mill. All that time spent running by Jeff, and he's getting housed again.
No!
But he's
not leaving.
He's pivoting it into a house build. He's just saying, I'll back off, I'll take your gold. So far it's cost him a mill and a good amount of time from those 6 villagers.
Now, Twitch, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't villagers do more damage to buildings than your militia does?
That is correct, actually. A little known fact that villagers start with a small amount of bonus damage. Jeff, potentially for a psychological play, is still having one of his villagers deposit berries. Maybe a distraction, but man, Keegan's early barracks really paying off big here.
That's wild. I don't know how that worked.
That's
I don't know.
And that's going to be 100 lost wood from Jeff. He's maintaining his hold on the outskirts here. and looking to really get aggressive.
Oh no!
Maybe trying to
Oh no!
maybe trying to emulate his past losses here, really trying to learn to avenge himself. He does not have a ton of food production though. He's got
Yeah,
four farmers and 4 people on berries, but so he's gonna have to really work to keep up the production if he wants to make and pump out those militia. He will be taking advantage though of a huge thing for the Japanese. Al, do you know what he's getting at here with this early
yeah.
feudal age?
I believe when we're looking at this, he's got 6 people over on gold here, and if it's a well-known fact that you need gold to produce as many samurai as you can. So if he's gonna be just hunting down Keegan's gold, I mean, he's gonna be starving him, and at the same time being able to create a massive amount of units.
Yep. And Keegan doing a little bit extra scouting, making sure Jeff isn't in the woods. Jeff hitting that early feudal age, but Keegan's right behind him. And starting to pump out a little bit of gold as he is feeling gold starved. He's got those 2 militia, but without that extra gold, he's not going to be able to make more. Looking at the villager counts briefly, Jeff is sitting at almost twice as many villagers as Keegan. He did have that early success militarily, but maybe he wasn't producing villagers at the same rate. Let's just take a look at Jeff's society here for kind of comparison. But those numbers are a little more even than they would at first suggest, because Jeff's had a lot of downtime on these forward villagers, but he gets down a watchtower right outside the mill. He says, "That is my mill." And this time, if Keegan is going to come and try and fight with those militia, he's going to have a nasty surprise that Jeff's already got man-at-arms waiting for him. In this kind of matchup, seeing what the 2 folks have for military, who do you think wins?
Man, this is just such a bizarre match. I mean, who do I think wins in the military sense? I think Jeff's gonna win. I mean, he's essentially got 2 bases already. He's looks like he's running out of lumber. He didn't set it to automatically reset his farm.
Oh, that's gonna distract his attention. He's
man.
starting to get his main base economy a little more on its feet, but it's still a little behind where you would think, and he is just aggressively going for the stone. Something tells me this is not going to be the last tower we see as he claims those berries. And it looks like Keegan's just saying, you know what, you can have them. He's happy with the economy that he's got.
And yeah, he's kind of making his farm, making I mean, right now, that's got to be, just in the back of his mind, right? I mean,
oh, for sure. And, it looks like Keegan's preemptively towering some of his resources to make sure he can keep his gold up. He's got those man-at-arms coming in, really trying to make the most of those upgrades and see if he can get them aggressive again on that tower. Also, before we get some action here, I want to remark on Keegan's conservationist strategy, preferring to leave the elephant alive as kind of like a sanctuary or a tourist attraction, really taking more of a conservationist lean. Oh, and we've got man-at-arms coming in from Jeff to do a raid on Keegan's lumber, but they're split. Will they get overwhelmed? Who will win in a battle? It's 3-on-3, but Jeff has that advantage of the Japanese bonus attack speed. And it looks like a little bit of a stalemate, a tense standoff as Keegan is starting to pump out more men-at-arms to defend. But no harm, no foul. Nope, no casualties on either side, and only a little bit of lost time from Keegan's villagers, but Jeff's going in again!
man, you don't like to see that.
And that is the first villager hitting the deck. Oh my god. But Jeff's focusing on the villagers alone. Keegan's kiting with the villager, and the men-at-arms are just getting picked off. If he runs at the tower at this point, there's a chance he can do it. We don't think the murder holes could possibly be up from Jeff.
Oh no.
Ooh, and Jeff trying to crawl forward with some towers.
Oh,
What do you think is running through the competitors' heads at this point, Al?
Fuck this. Wow. That is probably
Oh!
probably thinking, get the fuck out of my base.
Trying to prevent Jeff from getting down a second tower. He's just... Oh, but he might actually do it.
Man.
Most of the villagers are down, but the second tower is
no,
down. And in close
Man,
enough
he's got a
proximity...
center over here.
And at this point, even the lack of murder holes isn't going to save him, as those two towers are going to be able to defend each other. And Jeff's just going to keep the hits coming. As he builds another tower, that early stone paying out, he is just flush with stone. There's more where that come from, and he's just going to creep the towers in towards the base. They're already almost in range to hit Keegan's town center. It is only going to get worse from here. However, Jeff's military not very well built up if he could somehow break the line. But if
I think one thing that's going to hurt Keegan here is that he's got a ton of villagers that can take down those towers. Like, they're going to do the extra damage, they're going to burn the tower down, he doesn't have murder holes.
That's true.
He could take them.
It is true. Would you say, that's going to cost you some villagers, but is that a better advantage than being hemmed in at this early stage?
I think, I'd rather be at a disadvantage, in my villagers, as long as my villagers that I have aren't under constant fire.
Yeah.
I mean, the pressure is just on between these players, I mean, this is crazy.
Yep. And if we look at the scoreboard, though, we're going to notice a pretty heavy villager deficit for Keegan, who's now feeling the weight of having some villagers inactive. He's taking the stone, so he's got enough to build some counter towers, but really, those aren't going to get him ground back. It's just going to stop the bleeding, as these two towers are just plinking away at each other.
I think this is one of the gaps in Keegan's strategies, is that there's a point in the game at which he just stops producing villagers. That hurts. That's going to hurt every time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got an inactive tower. I mean, he's got no upgrades coming up. He is locked. He's just stuck there.
Yeah, he's really going to have to start producing more villagers to catch the gap between him and Jeff, which, if I'm reading this right, is about 38 villagers to 14. Jeff just having a commanding lead in terms of villagers. He has built an archery range, though, to try and add some firepower to those towers, and the positioning of the towers as well is favorable as they slowly plink away at each other. We've got kind of a 3-to-2 situation in terms of which towers are able to fire at each other. So we would expect, without upgrades coming out, that we see that Jeff's towers do fall first, but is that bleeding enough? Stopping bleeding enough? He's really got to pick up villager production again. However, if we look, Jeff has also slowed down, maybe forgotten to produce some villagers. He may be using some more of his wood more to push into the castle age. He's really reserving the food for that, as well as getting a little bit of a military to maybe push down some of these towers. But looking at Jeff's base, we've got a beautiful dragon-shaped line of farms here. Do you think the aesthetic that Jeff is employing here, is there any strategy to that, or is it just to kind of calm the mind?
I really think that, the Japanese are a Zen culture. I mean, they essentially created the feng shui, and I think Jeff is really emulating that. I mean, that's going to be his source of power, and he just wants it to look nice. The seat of power needs to be the nicest place on the map, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a really, really great play from him to kind of take the extra time to really, feng shui his base. It's just excellent play here. And as we get back to the tower race, it does appear that Jeff's first tower might be falling quicker than he would like. He is trying to launch some raids, and he's got a small army built up.
He's building another fucking tower!
Ooh, so Keegan really making a tough target of the north side of his base, but losing a villager in the process. That is just disappointing.
Why is this happening?
And we've got another tower going down. It seems to be Keegan has found that those towers are what works, and he is sticking to it. But Jeff, with that early stone and a classic mover by Jeff, he is building a castle. Let's see if Keegan has no idea he is not in range. However, once that castle is complete, it is definitely going to be in range of some of Keegan's last camps. But if he finishes that watchtower in time, he may see what's coming. Let's watch from Keegan's perspective as he maybe dodges a bullet, but my goodness, that economy is just
there it is. You can see it now.
He sees what's there, but does he have anything that he can do with it? does he have? It doesn't even look like he's got any. No, he doesn't even have any really military units to back it up. His long swordsman's fallen down, and he's gonna build more towers. He's just going all in on towers, just gonna try and defend for as long as he can. And we're gonna see the first casualty of those towers that Keegan has built go down in just a moment as Jeff's first forward watchtower's out. But oh my gosh, when it rains, it pours. That castle is done, and it is just going to start bullying that lone tower. We're starting to see.
I don't know if you know this, but he's got that same surprise. He got it twice. No castle builds a tower. There's a castle.
Oh, it's just there all over again. Looking from this perspective, Al, I know he's in a tough spot, but what do you think? What do you think Keegan's best path out of this is?
Dude. It's time to roach. He's got to get out. He's got to start a new life on the southern point of the map. You got gold, you got wood, you got a relic on the way. Like you could come out of this. You could get out of it, Keegan. You could delete your town center and move.
Ooh.
You know, start a new life.
A classic maneuver we've seen from Keegan before, caching a scout at the back of the base to try and launch a last-ditched effort when all else is lost. So I would keep my eye on this as we kind of move forward. And that castle is even starting to tear down the lumber camp. It is just not looking good here.
He's gonna keep building towers to get knocked down by that castle.
Yep, and you got to imagine at this point a siege works is somewhere on the way for Jeff.
Yeah.
As well, a second town center. He is really just here to stay. And Jeff's villager production is keeping up. He slowed down for a little bit there, but he's still about 50 villagers. A little under average, but way, way ahead of where Keegan is at. And there it is. We talked about it in the pregame banter, but we've got Samurai coming out.
So I guess I'm wondering what the play with the Samurai is, just simply because they're good against special units. He's got a whole bunch of infantry that are going to come in against towers.
Yeah, well, one useful thing, if Jeff's gone through, I haven't been watching the upgrades as much, but if he's gone through to the arson, the Japanese have 33% quicker attack speed on all their infantry, and with that bonus damage to buildings, though they're not in the best condition, Samurai can tear down those towers relatively quick. Oh, and with those, Jeff trying to take advantage of those tight clumpings of towers as he launches the petards who, 1-2, are able to take down the watchtower. And though petard's not often, somebody's go-to unit in AOE, for this kind of tower warfare, phenomenal. You see exactly why right there.
He's got to get out of there.
He does.
He's got to run away.
He needs something. He needs a lifeline. His two towers are slowly winning in this war, but he is not going to do much against those castles as Jeff just continues to pump the Samurai out with his strict economic advantage, reaching almost 50 villagers, almost a difference of 40 villagers. Just insane. Keegan still trying to put forth a military mix of man-at-arms and archers here coming out. Hopefully, maybe he's hoping to try and back up those towers and attack the weak side, but the Samurai are a-coming. They're just going to tear through those last two villagers on gold and get out. They're not interested in fighting those towers just yet. Oh my god. Oh, and just doing so much damage to that watchtower. And the Samurai just in for a quick finish off, and it looks like Jeff is going to take the fight here. He is just going to run in. Keegan not even garrisoning. He is just... Jeff is looking. He expects there to be more villagers, and there's the garrison. Here's where the Samurai are going to start to take some significant damage, and Jeff wisely backs off, going for the unexposed villagers who are still harvesting. He even is going for the elephant!
I can't help but think that's a stab at me, because he knows I'm watching.
Oh my gosh. A stab at our caster, that is just an absolutely savage move, no matter how you read it. You just gotta go for it. Oh, and he's trying to tear down that archery range. He's just totally
Okay.
disregarding the fire from that town. And what is this from Keegan? He is trying to build up a stone wall. But
It was a
will
good
it just
attempt.
remain a monument to his own defeat as the samurai are able to charge into those towers and they are just shrugging it off as they go to try and chop down those towers? It is just looking grim here for Keegan. Al, what do you think? What do you think his strategy is here with these stone walls?
He's got to be trying to lock those samurai out. You know, I mean, that's the only thing walls can do. They're not the most efficient walls, but he did get 2 of them pretty well built. But it's just too little, too late, man.
And here we see the effect of those samurai as they're able to just tear through those watchtowers. But they've been slowly withering away under the fire of this town center, but no, it's not going to be enough.
There it
There
is.
you have it, people. This is
Oh,
another win in the book for Jeff, and still Keegan just trying to find his footing in this tournament.
that's a tough loss. Wow, look at those numbers.
Yep, no question about what happened there. Just,
Oh,
just really tough for Keegan to get hemmed in like that. But if we want to look at the graphs, I think what hurts him most is the economic loss. He just he wasn't able to keep up after that early aggression, and really needed a strong economic base to rebound from.
he had such a great first defense. Um,
It was
and then I
phenomenal.
think he just got a little carried away with the towers.
Yep.
Um, I mean, the focus should have been on, stabilizing his economy and, transitioning into, a new base or, a new strategy. But he just got fixated on those towers.
Yeah, we see the economic difference really telling the story of the game here. Uh, do you think, in this game, I think we certainly saw it, but what do you think the psychological effect has on this game? We can talk often in terms of units and resources, but just the psychological effect that early aggression had. Where do you think that's
Man,
coming from?
I think it amped up his defense, and I think it probably built some confidence, right? I mean, I'm sure that it shook Jeff just a touch, to see, something like it happen. But, at the end of the day, I mean, I mean, you can't fight that, I mean, but it looks like we got a couple of our boys off the field here. Guys, great game.
Yeah, something like
That
Yeah,
was,
it was
that was wild. That was a wild game to watch.
that.
Man, I guess we could start with Keegan. Keegan,
Yeah.
how are you feeling here?
I honestly, I feel a lot more confident with how I played in this one than I did in the last one.
Well,
Still made major mistakes early on that like obviously cost me down the road. Um, and I obviously didn't notice that I made those mistakes until it was far too late. But yeah, I think I think I made a lot of improvement here, even though the runtime of this game was less than the last one.
How were you
now,
feeling after that initial fending off of the villagers encroaching on your berries?
Honestly, I knew that any progress I made right there was kind of fruitless, for no pun intended. Just because like if he had that many workers that close to my base, then I already knew it was gong show because I was like he has a whole town there.
Mm. Yeah.
Like that many workers that early in the game, I was like, geez. The best thing I could do was try and get technology, but then once he started getting ahead of me in that, I was like, great.
Mm. You had a really good surround when it became a little bit of a tower war there. Tell me a little bit about what was running through your head as you were kind of fending off towers with towers.
Yeah, it was just more that was the only thing I could do logically because I had a bunch of stone saved up because I had one person mining stone from like the very beginning just to keep the stone coming in slowly until I needed it. And so that kind of panned out in the end because I was able to build like 7 of those, but like I couldn't build anything better than towers because I couldn't get to the next stage. So
Mm.
it was more or less just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, but it was something else to do.
Uh, I think folks have said that you've been learning a lot and improving in each of your match. What are you going to take from this match to your next one?
Continue to scout. Just because your scout, finds the area around you and you know what it looks like, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can see where your enemy is. Uh, so I need to be like, scouting around my perimeter more just to know what's going on. I feel like I'm de facto turtling because by the time I know they're near me, it's far too late.
Well, I think that's a good lesson to take on to your next one, and good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck in that.
Thank you, guys.
Al,
Good game to Jeff.
I think you've got Jeff on the other side of the field over there.
Jeff,
Yeah. How you?
you have a minute?
Yeah. Always love to talk to the press.
Wow, Jeff, it's it's your second game of the night. How you feeling?
I feel good. I feel like I got back to my roots.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot. I think we saw a
Mhm.
lot of roots there. You were laying them down all over the map.
Yeah, I played much more in the style that I'm used to playing. Um, was able to go on the offensive pretty hard, pretty fast. Um, it was unexpected. Just in some general exploration, getting out there, but unexpected to see his berries untouched, and I thought at that point, maybe I could capitalize and take some of his food. Any food going into my villagers' mouths is better than it going to his. So that was what that kind of first move was. Now I did lose a few people; they did die, but then you know I guess kind of a wash there on Barry's gain to villagers dead.
Yeah, that was really crazy. You were very aggressive towards his resources. That was a different side of play than I think I've seen from you. I mean, you definitely stepped forward as per usual. I mean, you definitely castle stepped like you do.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but it was pretty wild to see, like you just expanding on resources. That seemed like a new move. I mean, is that something you're looking at employing that in a strategy in general, or was it that kind of an experimental thing you tapped into?
Well, they say the good create and the great steal. Um, that's a little trick I stole from one of our opponents in the tournament here. Maybe not necessarily the actual utilizing of the resources, but just preventing your opponent from using their own resources, whether it's with walls or because you have added them to your coffers. Um, and it seemed like it paid out pretty well.
Wow, Jeff, that was very poetic. Jeff, do you get or Twitch? Do you have any questions for our contestant here?
Yeah, if he could just kind of comment on the beautiful Zen garden like pattern he was making with his farms, I think we spent a good amount of time admiring that in the middle of the match.
Um, yeah, so um, just looking back and kind of seeing how the farms are working, I do like to, or try to, and I think this is what kind of got me in my last one. I do like to try and employ the, ideology or methodology of a feng shui, keep a good energy flowing through the base. And if you look back at it, you can see the farms were kind of pointing towards Keegan's base,
Oh,
directing
that's
the
cool.
energy and aggression in his way. Where last time they were a little bit more clustered, attracting the aggression to my base.
At least I
So
know my ass whooping was spiritual. That's awesome. That's awesome. It was feng shui.
yeah, yeah. See, I was leaning and getting a little harder
Hold
RP
on. I'm gonna
with the
go.
Japanese.
I'm gonna go look at the map. I didn't notice this.
Oh,
Hold on. Let
it
me
was
see.
actually absolutely beautiful. You should really,
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's just
really.
yeah, I mean,
Oh wow.
we
Yeah.
we were trying to understand, and we knew it had to be spiritual. We knew you had to be tapping into some secret energy. I mean,
Yeah.
you channeled Sun Tzu, you channeled the spirit of the Japanese, and overall, I think you did a great job. Whether this is misappropriation or not, I still think you did a great job.
Yeah, no, this was, and I think what that Zen garden shows more than anything that in this game you're able to find a remarkable state of calm. What can you remark about your mental state throughout this game, maybe compared to some of your past games?
um,
The one we just watched. That's the one he's thinking about in past games.
yeah, yeah. So compared to past games, this one was don't try and anticipate and play your opponent's game. It was play your game and adapt to your opponent as you need to. Um, and I think if I stick to that, I will continue to have good success um, in the future matches.
And speaking of future matches, looking forward, you've gotten a win, both a win and a loss under your belt tonight. What match are you looking forward to or anticipating is going to be your next key one here in the tournament?
I'm really thinking running down the opponent list here. Um, you know, I think Pat and Richard are going to be the two that present some difficulty. Now, the last game I saw from Richard was a bit of chaos, but I feel he may have improved. But what it does intimidate me about him is um, the total unpredictability. You don't know what you're going to get out of him, um, and that can be a little unsettling.
Well, Jeff, thank you for the interview and well played tonight. We'll look forward to seeing the rest of your matches out in the tournament.
Yeah. Good chat with you guys.
And that's going to close out our broadcast.